Hi, I'm Wyatt Cash at Scoop News Group, and we're here at CyberTalks with Rob Cheng, CEO and founder of PC Matic Incorporated. Rob, thank you so much for joining us.
Nice to be here.
Well, let me start by asking, what does it mean to have a baseline level of cybersecurity in 2021?
That's an interesting question. I mean, our company has been around for 20 years, and in the last 10 years, we've been in cybersecurity. And the interesting thing is that the baseline is changing. I mean, because the threats are evolving, the baseline has to change. And so that's something that I think everyone needs to be aware of. I would say that there's two things. I always say that there's only two things in cybersecurity, and that's software on a network you don't want and people. So your people, you need to look at authentication, and your baseline needs to be changing on people and authentication. If you're not on two-factor, maybe you should consider it. There are other authentication things. And then the other one is software, and that is really your antivirus or your prevention layer. And I think that the world is moving to whitelisting. So that's, or now they call it allow listing.
Well, next, I'm curious, how did the pandemic affect the way that organizations that you work with, the way that they're securing their data now?
It's interesting, all through this pandemic. So in the very beginning of the pandemic, everything quieted down. There were less attacks. And then all of a sudden, boom, it just went crazy. So 2020 was a big year for cyber attacks for multiple reasons. Number one, because everyone was working at home, businesses had to open up their RDP ports. Because everyone was watching the news, there were a bunch of attacks related to from the World Health Organization, supposedly World Health Organization, the CDC. So people were opening emails like this and then deploying ransomware that way. So we definitely saw an increase in attacks. And really, because of the pandemic, we weren't responding to it, or as you say, changing our baselines.
Well, what kinds of changes do you expect to see now and in the near future in the cyber world?
Well, I mean, the problem keeps on getting worse. I mean, it's pretty scary that the first ransomware that we saw was in September 2013. And it was $200 and infected some photos on a home computer. And now it's turned into this huge multi-billion-dollar industry. So the big change that I said, the reason why this keeps on happening is our focus on reaction. So I think that the big change that we need to see is to start focusing on prevention. And that doesn't preclude having reaction, but right now everyone's thinking we'll react to these problems and not worry about prevention. And it really needs to be a balanced approach.
Lastly, Rob, what is the biggest thing that you think most people, in cyber circles don't really appreciate or understand about cybersecurity, or perhaps, their management that they report to?
Well, actually, the one thing, if you're in cybersecurity, the one question you want to ask yourself is, where do you get your information from? I mean, because what I see is a total lack of transparency. Let's use Colonial Pipeline, for example. I mean, we all heard that one. Well, one question that never got asked, and I think still needs to get asked, is what antivirus were they using? The free market is not working properly, and people are making decisions on incomplete information. But if we start getting this information out there, then I think that we can get well very quickly. And I really want this to get well.
I really appreciate that. Well, Rob Cheng, thank you so much for taking time to join us, share some of your insights on cybersecurity. We really appreciate it.
All right. Great to meet you.